This past week, we took a family trip to Shady Brook Farms in Bucks County to see the immense light display that they put up each year. It's our third year going. My kids love it. Possible they love it because of the lights, but probably it's because it's the one time of the year they get to be in our car unbuckled as we drive at 2 or 3 miles an hour through the light display. On our way there, we were reminiscing about Grandma Kay, my wife's, Anna's grandmother, who passed away a few years ago. Grandma Kay had a million stories that she told about her life, and one of my favorite happened when she was newly married and living in rural Wyoming. I don't remember why the story came to mind, but we were in the car, we were about to share it with our kids, and Anna and I both started to tell the story at the same time. So, of course, I deferred to her. But as she was making her way through the tale, I interrupted to say, whoa, I heard a very different version of this story from Grandma Kay. And then I told Anna the correct version of the story. And then Anna was very annoyed with me for interrupting her and for stealing her thunder and for telling her story about her grandmother incorrectly. But the point is, Anna wisely quoted Grandma Kay and said, "It's not the facts that matter, it's the story." Well, we can debate about who had the right version of the story another time. But on this point, I totally agree with my wife. The story isn't true because of its factual details, but because of the emotional details. It's true because of what it teaches about Grandma Kay, and in turn, about her family, and truly about Anna and where she comes from. Retelling family stories shapes who we are. It's our story, just, I don't know, maybe the prequel. It's that initial impetus that pushes us on our way. This is who we are. This is what we do. Now go figure out who you are. Now go figure out what you do. Now, again, are the stories true? Who cares? My best friend tells the story of what it's like when his parents argue. In the 23 years I've known him, he's told me the story many times. He might describe it like this. They'll sit down at the table and calmly, rationally debate the points of their argument until someone concedes, or at least decides that the other person cares more. Then they're done. This is really how his parents argue. I don't know, of course. But it doesn't really matter if it's true. It's a statement of family mythology. And it happens that my best friend is also a calm, rational person the vast majority of the time. And so this family story offers him the context for his own story. He starts from that point, from that family context, and then he writes the rest of the story himself. This week, we finished reading the book of Genesis. Talk about family dynamics, huh? Got Cain and Abel. Thanks. Noah and his sons and their fraught interactions after the flood. Sarah and Hagar. Abraham and Isaac. Isaac and Ishmael. Isaac and Jacob. Isaac and Jacob and Esau. I guess Isaac has kind of a tough time of it. We often talk about Genesis as our family story, the family story of the Jewish people. It provides our context for our lives as a people. Now, at the end of the book of Genesis, in this week's portion, Vay'chi, Jacob blesses his sons. Well, blesses is the word we use for this moment in Genesis, but actually, Jacob says, "Gather round, my sons, that I might tell you what shall befall you in the days to come." Gather round, that I may tell you what shall befall you in days to come. Not a blessing, it's a foretelling. More than that, Jacob also refers to their past, to various moments in their story that shine a light on their character. Jacob's sons, in this moment, get both context for their own lives as well as their father's thoughts on their future. I have to say, some of it isn't really positive. But I wonder, does Jacob think that his sons can change their essential nature? Are the actions of their past wholly determinative of their future? I mean, we know how their story ends. But at that moment, how might they have responded to Jacob's opinions as to their future success or failure? Were they happy about it? Were they angry? Did they agree or disagree? Were they resigned to their fate? Here we are at New Year's Day, wondering what's to come. Last night at dinner, as we sat around the table, we started remembering out loud wonderful things that had happened in 2020. And every time someone mentioned something that happened in 2020 that was great, we all cheered and applauded. And then we started talking about what we're looking forward to in 2021. And every time someone had something to share, we cheered and applauded again. It was a nice way of remembering 2020 and looking ahead to 2021. We have all just lived through a heck of a year. A year that included our president's impeachment, a global pandemic, a crashing economy, a bitter national election. We want to believe that next year will be better. We want to believe that the story we've been living for the last year isn't predictive of the year to come. But I'll just go ahead and make a prediction right now. 2021 will be better than 2020. Also, it's going to be worse. Can't control it. Can't control anything, really. All you can control is you. You can make choices. You can set goals. You can examine the part of the story that ended last night and then set your sights on the next chapter. So my question for you tonight is, what do you want? Once you have an answer to that question, and admittedly it doesn't have to be a complete answer, here are some things you can do. If your answer is a general sense of improvement, a concept, an idea that you want to work on for the year, try summarizing it in one word. Set an intention for the year to come. My word for 2021 is faith. But you'll have to wait for another day to find out why. If you have a concrete goal for this year, I want you to think of one thing that you can do towards that goal tonight. soon as services are over. One thing, large or small, that you can do tonight towards that goal. Best if you do it in writing or it is an action to take. Now, after you've come up with your one step to take tonight or tomorrow morning, then I want you to figure out what the very next step after that would be. It's a good start. If you don't know what goal to set, or if you don't know how to get to the goal that you've set, well, then who could you call for help? What mentors do you know? What wise people are in your life that you can call on for help? If you need a wise guy, I will happily volunteer my time to help you with that question. Or call the rabbi. We would love to hear from you, and we would love to help. This week's portion is, as I said, the end of the book of Genesis. In our tradition, when we stand on the cusp of the next part of our story, we say the words, chazak, chazak, v'nit chazek. Be strong, and we will all be strengthened. So, as we stand on the cusp of the next part of our own personal story, my prayer on this New Year's Day is that we find within ourselves the strength to make choices, the strength to seek help, and the strength to help write the next part of our own story in 2021, just as we dream it. Shabbat Shalom, and Happy New Year.